All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah YAHAWAH, Ba'ashem YAHAWASHI, Ba'ashem Kodash. All right. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is called Integrity. And the subtitle is Saint Maurice. And we were discussing this on the way down to camp yesterday. And, there's certain things that should be mentioned for truth's sake. And there's a lot of history out there that not many are aware of. And, it's our job to break the scriptures down the right way, the truthful way, and also to bring out information based off of certain historical things that fit the Bible. Now, the term integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. And some of the synonyms are honesty, uprightness, probity, rectitude, honor, honorableness, righteousness, ethics, morality, nobility, so on and so forth. And this is the case with Saint Maurice. And Saint Maurice, the word Maurice comes from the word more. And the word more comes from the Spanish word moreno, which means brown. And as you see here, this is Saint Maurice, is a famous picture of him. And then you have other pictures like this, of Saint Maurice. He was a Moor, but he was an Israelite and he was a Christian, and he was a Jake, and a lot of this history is pretty much passed over by Esau because they don't want this truth to come out. I wish I would have had this before, but this is the image of him. He was an actual leader in the Roman armies. He led legion. He led a legion of men. That were the majority of them were actually Christians also, and he was very honorable and and he had a lot of integrity. Him and his men, because his men revered him, respected him, and they followed behind him, because they knew that he was a man of integrity. The scriptures say, mark the perfect man, for the end of that man is peace. And in the year roughly around the 200s, like 250 or so, maybe, further up from that, maybe like around 270, 280, around there, AD, he would be, in my opinion, he would be a figure such as was Judas Maccabees. Judas Maccabees was a man of integrity, a man of honor, a Levite, that fought, a champion for our nation, that fought for our nation back then against the Greeks, and, this man was honorable and had the integrity, that basically brought about his death, in so many words. And pretty much that's what encapsulates the word integrity, because the word integrity, if you have integrity, you're not going to sway from your beliefs, like the movie, trying to remember the word ridge is in there, something ridge. It was a military movie with that one individual that kept, that wouldn't take up arms against, you know, his enemies, but he wanted to support, and his whole thing was about helping people, you know, and he kept bringing the wounded, you know, to let them down, you know, off of that mountain, something ridge, high ridge or high hacksaw ridge or something like that. I think it's hacksaw ridge, you know, and he showed his integrity by not taking up arms and being strong in his belief not to take up arms, even though joining the military, you know, he had to, you know, if you join in the military, you're sworn to defend your country and your countrymen, and you need weapons, you know, to defend, and he wasn't having it, you know. So pretty much, you know, along those lines, and I believe he was a Gadite. He had to be a Gadite, you know. This is my opinion on it, you know. I don't remember the guy's name, but you know, he did a great thing, and you know, like Judas Maccabees did a great thing, and Saint Maurice, you know, did a great thing. You know, like I said, he led about 6,600 men, which that's a legion, you know, and there were different time periods in the Roman Empire. You had different the measurement for a legion was different depending on what time period you were in the Roman Empire. So at his time, it was almost a seven, you know, from 6,000 to 7,000 men. All right, so he had 6,600 men under his command, and you know, they followed and revered him greatly, just like William Wallace, another one. All right, this is all building off of the name or the word integrity. All right, which we read the definition for it. Now, here, this is a quote from C.S. Lewis. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And you have to be resolved within yourself, within your spirit, to do the right thing even when no one is watching. Not just doing the right thing when people are watching, because the scriptures speak about eye service. Let's go to that real quick. You know, you're just doing things because somebody is watching you. Ephesians 6:6. Let's go a little bit above that. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh. This could be, you know, because back then you had masters that were Israelites that were that had businesses, and you had other Israelites that worked for them. You know, this ain't talking about Esau. You know, even though, you know, when you go on these different jobs, you hold yourself to a certain standard. You know, I mean, you don't want to just be just some old raggedy clown off the street. Scriptures say, you know, we have to be blameless, you know. So it says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto YAHAWASHI, not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of YAHAWASHI, doing the will of the Most High from the heart. So when you're doing these things, you're not supposed to be doing them with eye service. Just because somebody is there actually watching you and seeing you, then you're gonna just, you know, you're gonna perform, you know, the ritual, so to speak, because somebody's watching you. No, you got to be the way that you are when people are watching and when people are not watching. Because remember, the whole time you're doing these things, whether there are people present or not, YAHAWAH B'Shem YAHAWASHI is watching. The angels are watching. You know, so this is off. I can't.
Strong's G 3787. Ophthalmadulia.
Which is service performed only under the master's eyes. For the master's eyes usually stimulates to greater diligence. His absence, on the other hand, renders sluggish, and that's another saying: when the cat is away, the mice will play. You know, so the only time you really show true diligence or obedience or integrity is when the eyes are on you. But then when they're not on you, you're just some spick or some nigger, you know, some Uncle Tomahawk or a clown, basically. You know, you don't show any form of integrity. So integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. C.S. Lewis. Now I have a couple of scriptures here I would like to read. This is dealing with Abraham, dealing with Sarah, his wife, which he told her to tell the Egyptians that she was his sister because he feared that they would kill him because his wife was so beautiful, you know, that they would kill him just to get to her. He didn't understand that Abimelech, which was a king at the time, and those other men that were with him did have some integrity, because you do have nations out there that have integrity. You know, this is why King Solomon made certain leagues with Hiram, Abiff, you know, and there were other men that were in league, Ammonite kings and different Moabite kings and stuff that were in league, you know, and that supported King David because King David was over them, you know, and they honored him. So they showed their integrity to him, you know. So this is what Abraham says. Said he not unto me, she is my sister? Because when Abraham told Sarah to do that, any one of those, the king or any one of his servants, could have went in and had sex with Sarah and caused mischief to fall upon them because, you know, of that situation, because she was married to Abraham, you know, and those people back then, you know, unlike now, they had a lot more integrity because they followed a certain guideline, you know. It says, he is my, even she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And this is what Abraham told Abimelech. He did it in his integrity, and the integrity of his heart, and the innocency of his hands, because he just knew that if he didn't do it that way, that they would put him to death and take his woman from him. All right. And that just shows you how great this man is. And he still fell to that, you know, but he still did it in his innocency, in his integrity. Just like the Apostle Paul, he was killing people of the church, but he was doing it in his integrity, in the innocency of his heart, because he wasn't doing it to be malicious. He wasn't doing it to please anybody else. He really thought that what he was doing was the right thing. All right. So the word integrity is from the word thumb, H8537. And it says integrity, completeness, fullness, innocence, simplicity, integrity. So it's all about, you know, he did it from the heart. All right. And this is why brothers that are dealing with this truth should do it from the heart. Now, the word thumb, right, goes to another root word, thamum. And the word thamum means to be complete, which really goes to the word thamayim, which is, you have the word Urim and Thummim. And Urim is a warium, which are lights, and Thummim or Thamayim is perfection, lights and perfection. So Thamayim or thumb, you know, or the word which we just actually went to, thummum, thumb, you know, thummum, thumb, thamayim, they all mean all go back to the word integrity, completeness, which like the word thamayim is perfection, lights and perfection, because that was the ultimate judgment from YAHAWASHI, because he knew exactly what went down and he would give the proper judgment. All right. So the word integrity goes back to the word thumb, which means perfection. And then you have the word innocency, which is na kwayawan, innocency, freedom from guilt. All right, freedom from punishment. And what happens a lot of times when you have that integrity, especially to YAHAWASHI, you fall under the scrutiny of others that don't have that and that do not agree with what you're saying, even though what you're saying is correct. And they know it's correct, because a lot of these people out here, they know that the things that we're saying out here is the right thing, but they're not going to accept it. But that's all right, you know, because in the long run, they're going to be the ones that are going to be held responsible for it. But in the case of St. Maurice, right? Which we already had showed you a picture of him, you know. And there's many different pictures. You notice they broke the nose off of him, you know. But he's a dark skinned man, right? Israelite at that. Saint Maurice died circa 286 BC. I'm sorry, AD. They said Common Era. Argonum near Geneva. So him and his legion of men pretty much died in Switzerland, was modern day Switzerland. Feast day September 22nd, because they still celebrate him and this great thing that he did. Because really, when you go back to Hanukkah is a feast that we celebrate for 8 days, but it was Judas Maccabees that led our forefathers to that victory. So really, we're celebrating Hanukkah, and we're also celebrating their enterprise, or their great work that they did back then. You know, so he's also celebrated. It says Christian soldier whose alleged martyrdom. It wasn't an alleged martyrdom. It was a martyrdom. See how these fucking devils, they try to downplay it. He was martyred. And he was martyred by another so-called Negro, you know, Maximian, Maximian was an emperor back then. I'm not sure if it was the Western kingdom or the Eastern, because you had a split in the two of them. So you had two different emperors, one from the East and one from the West. It says, with his comrades, inspired a cult still practiced today. And they'll look at this word cult as a negative word, but the word cult simply means service. You know? It says, among those martyred with him were S.S. Vitalis, Candidus, and Exurperius, which they must have been some great men to be rolling with this man. He is the patron saint of the Vatican Swiss Guard. And these bastards, man, fucking so that whole Roman Catholic religion, which back then, you know, it was more honorable than it is today. It says their story was recorded in the Passio Martyrium Acaunensium, the Passion of the Martyrs of Argonum. By the 5th century, French Bishop Saint Eucharius, who believed that the Theban Legion was a group of Egyptian Christians serving in the Roman army under the command of Maurice, Latin Mauritius. And they were from Thebes. You know, it was a legion that came out of there. They came out of the land of Egypt, but though they were Israelites, because you had a lot of Israelites in Egypt, which you had what's the word I'm looking for? A community of Israelites in Egypt. Now, the first thing to take away from this is the fact that they call him Saint Maurice. Now, the saints are who? The saints are the Israelites. Before I go into any of those precepts, let's go to Psalms 148 and 13. It says, let them praise the name of YAHAWASHI, for his name alone is excellent. His glory is above the earth and heaven. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, which the word saints means holy, even of the children of Israel, or people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord, because only the Israelites are the saints, just like Saint Maurice was a saint. Now you have the title of saint that was put upon certain people that are not Israelites, you know, but this particular individual, Saint Maurice, he is a saint because he's an Israelite. Psalms 50 and 5, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So the ones that made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice are who? The Israelites. So those are the saints of the Most High, the Israelites. And you had saints of the Most High all throughout Egypt, all throughout Rome, so-called India, Europe, you know. So they were all over the place because they were scattered according to the curse that was written in the scriptures. This is the book of Romans 1 and 7. It says, to all that be in Rome, beloved of the Most High, called to be saints. See, because the Apostle Paul knew that you had Israelites that were all scattered throughout Rome, because he himself, who was an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin, had Roman citizenship. Okay, and you had a community of Israelites that were living in Rome. This is the book of Acts, chapter 18 and 1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy. He was living in Pontus. Why? Because he was kicked out of Italy and he had to flee and go into Pontus with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. And there are records of the Emperor Claudius actually kicking out Israelites, out of Italy, out of Rome. Why? Because you just like you have today, you have Israelites in different states and different cities and different countries, and there's uproars. Well, back then there was no different. What do you think was going on back then? You had all them different uproars because you had different doctrines, and back then they would go to blows. They would go to actually killing you, because the zeal was so great for whatever they believed in, and that's why they were running them out of certain places like Rome, because they didn't want all that ruckus up in there, man. They were trying to live a peaceable life. And when Jake get together, Jake gets loud, they get rowdy, and before you know it, it's all kind of shit breaks out. That's how you know that these Christians, so-called Christians back then, were Israelites. So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. They were causing up a stir so much that the emperor had to step in and give a decree or an order for them to be kicked out of that land. You ain't gonna bring that up in here, So going back, Romans 1:7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of the Most High, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from the Most High our Father and the Lord YAHAWASHI. So let's go back to some of this. It says, ironically, they were sent by Maximian. Now, Maximian himself was a Jake. And if I'm not mistaken, Maximian was one of the emperors of whom they called the 4 tetrarchs. Let's see what comes up. I know I didn't spell that right, but here it goes. The 4 tetrarchs, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of these tetrarchs was known as Maximian. If I'm not mistaken, let's see if they have Maximian, history, influence, artistic style, reference, subject, 4 rulers of the empire, Diocletian, Galerius. Here we go, Maximian. So Maximian was one of those emperors back then, of the 4 emperors, of the tetrarch, the 4 tetrarchs. From 286 to 305, he was Caesar. He shared latter title with his co-emperor and superior Diocletian, whose political brain complemented Maximian's military brawn. So he was in the military, and this is why you had Saint Maurice that actually joined him, because they were about helping, because they were all Israelites. They were about helping set things in order, But there was a problem because there was certain things that they were doing that Saint Maurice wasn't down for. And it says later Roman emperor, this is dealing with Maximian, to help quash a revolt of Christian peasants in Gaul. Now, before this revolt, I think there was something else that they actually helped put down, but it was actually other Israelites, but they weren't calling themselves Christians. But then when it came down to them for Maximian to want them to stop and destroy these Christians, Saint Maurice and his men weren't with that, because they looked at him as of the same faith, and they knew that they weren't doing anything wrong. The legion met Maximian at Octoderum, now Martigny, Switzerland, but they refused to fight against their brethren, and withdrew in protest to Agaunum. There, Maximian twice had 1 man and 10 executed, because the penalty for them refusing was something that they called a decathion or something like that. And decathion goes back to the number 10, which means that every 10th man of them was put to death for refusing the order of the emperor. You know, and eventually it kept going down to where they all got slaughtered. It says, and finally the entire group was put to death. Why? Because they would not fight against other Christians. You know, and this is history that's not taught. And if they do teach history about St. Maurice, they're going to paint him as a so-called white man, because that's how the devil does. It says study of the legend was stimulated by excavations 1944 to 49. Now, had there been no pictures, no relics, no frescoes of St. Maurice, you know what they would have done? They would have said, St. Maurice, yeah, you know, he was a white man. You know, just like these devils do with everything. Beethoven and Mozart and all them great men were just all so-called white men. It says at St. Maurice in Valais in 1956, an analysis of the Passio by D. van Berkem, a specialist in the history of the Roman army, appeared claiming that the prime source for the author of the Passio was an oral account given by a 4th century Oriental bishop, Theodore of Octoderum, who brought from the east the legend of one St. Maurice who suffered martyrdom with 70 soldiers under his command. Van Berchem claimed that the soldiers were neither Thebans nor an entire legion, which is bullshit. You know, but see, this is how they try to downplay it. Because how is he going to be known as the leader of a legion and you only got 70 soldiers under you? Because a legion, depending on what time frame it was anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 men. You know, and you know, this is why some of these sources, you know, you don't really want to read, but you know, you just read it for the history's sake. The cult of St. Maurice and the Theban Legion is found in Switzerland along the Rhine and in northern Italy around Theodore Basilica. You know what? Let me go back. I just want to read a little bit of this from Wikipedia. There was something here. A composed Christian has been called the God, citizen, permanent, defeatable. Right. The legion, entirely composed of Christians, had been called from Thebes in Egypt to Gaul to assist Emperor Maximian to defeat a revolt by the Bagaudae. And these were, they were also Israelites that rose up against the injustices that were being done to their people, you know. And by right, if you're doing something wrong to a people, they're going to stand up and fight against you. So the Theban Legion was dispatched with orders to clear the great St. Bernard Pass across Mont Blanc. Before going into battle, they were instructed to offer sacrifice to the pagan gods and pay homage to the emperor. Maurice pledged his men's military allegiance to Rome. He stated that service to God superseded all else. To engage in wanton slaughter was inconceivable to Christian soldiers, he said. He and his men refused to worship Roman deities. See, so you had Maximian, which was a Jake, but he was a heathen Jake. And then you had St. Maurice and his men that were Jakes, but they were Jakes that were into the Most High, into the scriptures, and they refused to do this worship to this dude, you know. But they did pledge their allegiance, and they did help with anyone that they could help with. But when they tried to bring them against their own Christian brothers, that's when they refused martyrdom. However, when Maximian ordered them to harass some local Christians, they refused, ordering the unit to be punished. Maximian had every 10th soldier killed, a military punishment known as decimation, which that's where you get the word 10. More orders followed. The men refused to encourage the men refused as encouraged by Maurice, because he wasn't going for it, and his men were following his lead. And a second decimation was ordered in response to the Theban Christians. So every 10th man was being put to death. Refusal to attack fellow Christians. Maximian ordered all the remaining members of his legion to be executed. The place in Switzerland where this occurred, known as Argonum, is now St. Maurice, Switzerland, site of Abbey of St. Maurice. So he refused that. Why? Because him and his men had integrity, you know, and that's the point. Salakia. And this is history that you're not going to read about, you know, and they have pictures, drawings. of Saint Maurice as a Jake, because he is a Jake, you know, a so-called Negro tribe. He could be tribe of Judah, Benjamin, or Levi. All right, and he was a military man that was down for his people, you know, and that's the thing, you know, when you have integrity for Yahawah Bashem Yahushai, you know, for your power, for your people. This is why, you know, a lot of times these things happen, you know, and this is why, you know, we're being attacked. You know, Great Millstone is being attacked. The whole Hebrew Israelite movement is being attacked because the message that we bring is a message of truth and a message of integrity. And a lot of people are not going to accept that. You know, they're not going to listen to the truth, you know. There's a couple of precepts on here I would like to read. GMS Batiza, Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things are written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Also, Exodus 23:2, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, the water, neither shalt thou speak in a cause of decline after many to wrest judgment or to wrestle judgment. Proverbs, KDC, West Toronto. Proverbs 15:33, the fear of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. And that's what happened. They got it kind of it's a Maurice is a Jake name. That's right. You know, and that's why when I mentioned it in the truck on the way down to camp, you know, the apostles were chuckling because they were asking about something, and I said, yeah, Maurice, and they started chuckling because they thought I was being funny, you know, but I was being straight, you know, but you know how it is, Ephraim. You know, them doves jump on you. So sometimes brothers think you're joking when you tell them the truth. You know, but I just did a double check just to make sure, you know, that I wasn't bugging. But yeah, Maurice is a Jake name. That's right. Yep, that's right. GMS Winnipeg Prophet, Switzerland. That's right. Black land. That's right. All right, so I'm gonna read a couple of these precepts. You know, I didn't bring out a lot of precepts, but you know, just the fact that, you know, shows you that this man who was in the Roman army, you had a lot of Jakes in the Roman army. You had there's a book, I believe it was called Sons of Israel in Caesar's Service, you know, and that goes into the whole history of a lot of Israelites back then that were in Caesar's military, you know. But the thing is, they don't give you, they were brown-skinned people, you know. They don't tell you that. You know, but seeing this, you know that there were men, so-called men of color that were in the Roman armies. And at this time, when Saint Maurice was in effect, the Roman Empire was already governed and ruled by Jake anyway. You know, so let's see what else we got here. Job 2:3, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth the Most High and escheweth evil. And if you fear the Most High, you eschew evil, which means you avoid evil. If you're an upright man, you're going to suffer persecution. You know, if not by these people, which you will suffer persecution from these people, but you will also suffer persecution by these spirits, you know, that'll come against you. And this is why, you know, brothers go through what they go through, and you have to prepare yourself mentally to understand these things. You know, that, look, I'm going through this because I'm standing for the power of heaven and earth and the universe. YAHAWAH Bashem Yahushai. You know, and the things that I'm saying is totally going against his whole system and his whole world. It says, and still he holdeth fast his integrity. So no matter what Job went through, he still held fast his integrity. And the Most High bragged about that to Satan. It says, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And this is the thing. The Most High will do that to prove and test your mettle, your character. You know, it's sometimes is rough because, you know, you go through phases. You go through your highs, you go through your lows. You go through times where you know that you're a man of the Lord. You know, you feel it. You know, you feel that power, that energy. You know, that resolve. You know, that conviction. But then there's times when you say, damn, well, maybe I'm not a man of the Lord. You go through your lows, you go through your doubts, you go through certain humbling experiences. But it's just that, a humbling experience, because the Lord don't want nobody to be super proud. Because at the end of the day, the Lord says he's going to save the island of the innocent. And the Lord always speaks about the humble. So a guy that gets too proud or beside himself, the Lord will put certain things in his way, if he's a man of the Lord, to humble him back down, bring him back to a level playing field. Job 2:9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain that integrity? Because she knew that Job was a man of integrity. And she do you still holding on to integrity? The brothers, you still the Most High, you still holding your integrity to that? She said, curse the Most High and die. Because she didn't have that integrity when everything was all nice and plush and things were cool. She was cool with that. But then when it turned the other way, then her true side came out of her. And this is why, this man here, Saint Maurice, which is a man of honor, you could tell his integrity by the men that he was with, because not only did he suffer the martyrdom and stood firm, his ground, his men did the same thing. They saw his resolve. They saw that it said, no, this is a righteous man. I'm going to follow this man. The scriptures say, mark ye the perfect man. The apostle Paul said, be ye followers of me as I am of YAHAWASHI, because he was a man of integrity, and this is pretty much the lesson to take away from this, integrity. All right. So let's go back. All right. Job 27:5. The Most High forbid that I should justify you till I die. I will not remove mine integrity from me. And then even Job prayed, Job 31:6, let me be weighed in even balance, that the Most High may know mine integrity. And the Lord knew his integrity, but the thing about it is we're in the flesh, so it came to a point where the Most High said, gird up that loins like a man, Job, because Job got weak, because look, man, we're in the flesh, man. Even if we're men of the Lord and the Lord constantly kicking us in the ass and beating us, after a while, you're going to question, like, damn, YAHAWASHI being on the cross, right? Didn't he say, Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? Who was he speaking to? He wasn't speaking to the Roman Caesars. He wasn't speaking to Pontius Pilate. He wasn't speaking to the high priest. He was speaking to the Most High himself. Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? Because he felt the presence of the Lord leaving him. So there's certain times where men of the Lord are going to feel that way, but they're still going to move forward in that on that path, because it's of YAHAWASHI. It says Psalm 7:8, the Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O YAHAWASHI, according to my righteousness and according to mine integrity that is in me. Psalms 25:21, let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee. And these are, man, I mean, things, scriptures like this, and and those what's the word I'm looking for? Things of this nature, is what this truth is all it boils down to. It's not about how eloquent you sound, because some guys, they get caught up in, oh man, I'm so smart, I could put all these words together, and and the way that it comes out, sparks shoot out my ass when I speak. A guy like that really doesn't understand what this truth is about, man. The Lord likes things to be simple. They're not, the apostle Paul said, use words easy to be understood. Sometimes the most simplest lessons are the most impactful, than them big, overwhelming, in-depth, super, every word you use, every 2 or 3 words you use is some big elaborate word, but then when it comes down to it, when you ask people, what did you learn? I don't know, because they didn't make the impact, because scripture said use words easy to be understood. And then sometimes when we sometimes we use big words, but try to explain what the word means, Beautiful. GMS Winnipeg Prophet, Proverbs 19:1. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. That's a beautiful scripture, because it's true. Because what that goes into is it boils back down to integrity. All right. Psalms 26:1. Judge me, O Lord, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in the Lord, therefore I shall not slide. I want to jump down to Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the upright shall guide them. And that's the thing. Because there's certain things you can't teach a man. There's certain things you can't teach a brother, a man, There's certain things that are certain qualities that are either in you or they're not. That's why it says the integrity of the upright shall guide them. Because whatever spirit the Lord gave that particular individual, that's what's going to guide them. And the scriptures say that from the abundance of a man's heart, the mouth shall speak. So whatever your mind is geared to, whatever floats your boat, so to speak, that's what you're going to speak about. If your mind is all about women, your every word, damn near everything you say is going to be about women. If your mind is all about money, all you're going to speak about is money. If your mind is about the truth, all you're going to speak about is the truth, and that's how that's what the scriptures speak about in the Apocrypha, about not giving credit to a man too fast. Wait till he speaks, because the speech of a man, that's what merits, or that's what tells you what type of man it is that you're dealing with. Beautiful. Proverbs 20:7, which I have on the list. It says, the just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him. That's right. That's right. All right. So let's move on. It says Proverbs 11:3 again. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Right? Because the perverseness of transgressors, they're not going to maintain that path. They're not going to walk in the path of the truth, because eventually they're going to go off, because they're not meant to do this. They're meant to go off. They're meant to transgress. Psalms 19:1. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. See? Why? Because at the end of the day, the man that does the right thing to the best of his ability, even though he goes off at times, because we all go off, that man, if he has integrity to YAHAWASHI, and to the brothers, then he'll be all right in the long run, because there's not a just man upon the earth that sinneth not. Okay, so I'll read that again. Better is a poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. The just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him. That's right. So that's pretty much, it wasn't no big elaborate thing, but I just wanted to go into this, because when you read about the history, and you brothers could read more on the history, when you read about the history, and I wish I would have ran into this before, because I could have probably got some really good excerpts out of here, because sometimes some of the other stuff is just crap, Says this is a fake white drawing of Ulrich von Hutten, a fucking honky. But really, Ulrich von Hutten, which I don't even know who he is, but I know he was a Jake, 1488 to 1523. So like I said, Saint Jerome, and Jerome was a Jake. So pretty much, this is just to show you, Saint Maurice. He was an Israelite. He came out of, and I had wanted to go into that too, but I didn't get a chance, so I guess the Spirit didn't want that to come out. It just came to mind about the libertines. You had the Israelites, you had a community of Israelites down in Alexandria, which were called the Alexandrian Jews. You had a lot of Israelites in the interiors of Africa, up in northern Africa, Egypt, and all of that. And this is why Jake always ran down to Egypt for refuge, because there was always a remnant of Israelites down in that in that region. For some reason, the Lord always kept Israelites down in Egypt. So pretty much that's it on that. If your brothers want to read more about Maurice, Saint Maurice, I believe I put that other this one here, the Britannica one, wherever it is. One of these I have put in the description box, and you brothers can read more on it if you want. And pretty much there's a lot of history that Esau has covered up, and it's all coming out now. Because they make you believe that so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are just slaves, and but really, when you go into the history, we make up the Israelites, and we make up a great portion of the history of the world. That they don't want everybody else to find out about because they have whitewashed everything. So with that, I pray you brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom.